Okay, we are live.
Alright.
Let me see whether the stream is working. Yes.
It works?
Okay, we are live. Alright, we're live.
Alright.
Bugger, I made a mistake. Okay, I need you to say a long form sentence again.
Alright, hey, my name's Skitzo.
Yes.
Communism is radical, my guy. It works?
Okay, we are live. Alright, we're live.
Alright.
Okay, wait, give me a moment. Bugger, I made a mistake. Okay, I need you to say a long form sentence again.
Alright, hey, my name's Skitzo.
Yes.
Communism is radical, my guy. It works?
Okay, we are... Okay, bugger. Hold on a sec. Audio input capture. Yeah, okay, it's all good.
Alright.
I think.
Are you using like a press to...
I'm using OBS.
Oh,
Okay, wait, let me just... Give me 20 seconds.
alright.
Okay, we are ready to begin.
Alright.
I'm sending you the link on Discord now for you to share to your Twitter.
Okay.
Did you receive it?
Yep, I see it. Alright, sent it out.
Alright, so I think we're ready to begin. So, can you introduce yourself and state your, I don't know, just describe your positions? What will you describe yourself as?
Yeah, I'm Skitzo. My position, at least for this, is I don't think communism is possible, at least nationwide. And politically speaking, I say I'm a libertarian.
You're libertarian. Oh. Okay, another right winger.
What did you expect?
I don't know.
Have you seen my tweets?
No, I didn't bother researching at all.
Neither did I. Don't worry about
I have another libertarian that I got a debate later this week about child marriage.
it. About what?
Child marriage. It's a contentious issue in Malaysia, believe it or not. Whether or not a 13-year-old should be allowed to marry a 40-year-old.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah. This is not good for my mental health. So you're a libertarian, you don't think communism is possible. Can you give me what you define as communism?
Well, pretty much, instead of the government controlling the means of production, it's more like the people within a nation controlling the means of production. That's pretty much the shorthand of it, from what I understand.
So okay, wait, but your definition of communism, would it apply to something like the USSR?
I suppose not. I don't think communism's really been done, just because it's not possible.
So can I ask you what your definition of socialism is then?
Yeah, socialism is essentially the government controlling the means of production.
This is strange. This is a position I haven't heard before. So actually, I mean like the way leftists define it. Actually, would you like me to turn on my webcam for you?
I mean, you can. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't have an opinion either way on that.
Yeah. Anyway, from like as far as I know, us lefties, we define socialism as worker controlled means of production, whether or not it's in the hands of the government or indirectly in the hands of the worker, depends on which kind of lefty you ask. Some lefties would say a government that represents the workers is worker control, others would say that's state capitalism. And then communism would be a step beyond that. Actually, it doesn't even really include the socialism part anymore, but basically it was defined as a classless, moneyless, stateless society. So no borders, no money, and no concrete classes between people. Everyone was more or less on the same playing field. And like this is a bit of a prediction or that Marx specifically had for like hundreds, if not thousands of years into the future. I don't think any communists today, alive today, expects to see communism in their lifetime. But what we can fight for is socialism, which would be worker control of the means of production. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I'd agree that's what socialism is.
So, using this definition, would you say the Soviet Union was socialist?
I suppose so, yeah.
So, you believe communism is not possible in the sense that we can't have the stateless, classless, moneyless society?
Not nationwide. In like a small group, I suppose it is possible. But
communism is not supposed to be nationwide. It's supposed to be global. It's not possible until there's a global revolution.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's possible globally either.
And what do you think? What do you make of socialism?
I mean, I disagree with it, but it is, even though it failed, it's still possible, I suppose.
Okay, yeah. So let's go with that one. Let's tune into that, because the communism being possible or not possible thing is a very difficult question to answer, because it's hundreds of years into the future and there isn't really much written on how to make society a communist one, because we can barely get a socialist society off the ground. So, would you consider past socialist projects successful?
Could you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
Would you consider past socialist projects successful?
Past socialism projects successful?
Or would you say that socialism is a desirable future?
I suppose not, I would.
And why is that?
I just think that it tends to go against human nature, I think. Human beings, psychologically speaking, tend to want to be better, and some are better, and some do more work, and I think it's unfair to equally compensate people when, assuming, of course, the work is unequal.
Socialism isn't about eliminating inequality though. Like, harder workers are compensated more. I'm pretty sure that's how they did it in the Soviet Union as well. The most radical way in which a socialist society would look different from our current one is that you wouldn't have capitalists extracting value from laborers. Laborers would instead be entitled to the value they create.
I don't know, I disagree with that. I think that, at least if you're talking about business owners, I think it makes more sense for business owners to be paid much more. Of course, I'm not talking about old money. People who are inherited money, I tend not to like them, but people who made their money legitimately, think that they help the country, and I think that they should be compensated for their work, because it is a risk to make your own business, and if you screw up, you're the one who has to foot the bill. If you have employees and you screw up, at the worst, they're out of a job. So I really don't understand how, at least based on what I'm hearing from other people, I don't understand how it's unfair for the business owner to be compensated more.
Because the reason why we say this is, have you ever heard of the phrase, you gotta spend money to make money?
Yep.
But I realized this yesterday. One thing that they leave out from the phrase is, you gotta spend money, startup capital, whatever, and then you gotta put the work into it to create more value out of your original investment, right?
Yeah.
So we can agree that small business owners probably do work, right?
Yeah.
But what about big business owners? Like, and I'm sure they do some whatever work might be at the top. But let's take Jeff Bezos for example. Why is he entitled to get whatever the hell his salary is, while his the bottom line workers in the Amazon warehouses get paid close to squat compared to him, when we know for a fact that the value they create is nowhere near the wages they receive?
Well, I'd say the reason why he gets paid more is because when he started his business, he's the one who took all the risk. And even now, if his business fails, which odds are it won't, but under the assumption that it does, he's screwed, whereas the workers are out of a job. He essentially has no way to make money. Well, it's bad. You see how much money he has.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that because of the risk in the startup capital, it justifies him extracting the wealth to a profit. He needs to get something out of it to justify the risk, right?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, why is it undesirable to organize society in such a way where instead of all the risks being put onto one guy, and then as a result he's compensated more than the others, leave it to the workers that are actually not only getting paid from it, but spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week in the workplaces?
Well, that makes the assumption that they're all working the same amount and they're all contributing the same amount, which I find very hard to believe.
I don't think okay, so like let's take worker co-ops for example. I don't think worker co-ops are organized on the presumption that they work the same amount or contribute the same amount. Like, I'm fairly certain varying levels of work are compensated to varying degrees. You don't get flat wages. You don't even get flat wages in our current system, where some workers are paid more than others, even though they're in the same position, right? It's not about being paid the same amount. It's about being entitled to all the value that you create, as well as having a say in your workplace.
Could you repeat the last part?
It's about it's not about being paid the same amount as everyone else, but it's about being entitled to all the value your labor creates, as well as being able to have a say in your workplace, because you technically own it.
Well, who's the one who decides what it's worth? Because I'd argue that the idea for the business and the person who started to begin with is absolutely worth more to the company than some guy who came along after successful.
Okay, so your question is, who decides how much their labor is worth?
Yes.
So there's already an actual equation for this, and Marx wasn't even the one that came up with it. It was Adam Smith. Are you familiar with the labor theory of value?
I'm not. I did zero research for this at all.
No, this is not research I did for the debate. This is just a lot of socialist theory is built from the labor theory of value. Marx wasn't the one to come out of it, but he expanded upon it. So, just to illustrate labor theory value, including for people that are unfamiliar with this, let's say I own a bicycle factory, and let's just say this bicycle making machine for the sake of argument, and the bicycle making machine is the maintenance cost and the capital cost to make the bicycle making machine, whatever the cost is, the overhead, all that for the factory is $300. Okay? And I hire a worker, and he works the bicycle making machine to make a bicycle. And when the bicycle is made, I sell that bicycle on the market for $500. Okay? So
Yep.
this is working under the assumption that the starting material and the machine and the overhead costs are all worth $300. But the final product is worth $500. Where did the extra $200 of value come from?
Well, it depends on what the market's willing to pay for. I mean, let's be honest.
No, but what so I get that it's depending what the customer is willing to pay for, but what justifies a 200 increase in value? Why won't the customer just, I don't know, buy a bicycle making machine and the raw materials for $300 and make the bicycle themselves?
Well, I suppose it's because it's a commodity. I mean, I'm gonna be honest here. I don't really understand
No,
what you're trying to say. Right?
so what I'm trying to say is that that extra $200 of value came from the labor of the worker who put their time and energy into combining the raw materials and the machine to make a bicycle. And that justifies the 200 increase in costs. The 200 added value. You get me?
So basically, you're trying to say is what the market's willing to pay plus. Basically, what you're trying to say is what the market is willing to pay minus how much it costs is how much the worker should be compensated. Like that's how much the work is worth.
I wouldn't say what the market is willing to pay. I would just say like the retail price.
Well,
But yeah, this is the labor theory. This is the labor theory of value in its rawest form. Obviously, applying it will look a little bit different, but this is a thought experiment. Obviously, but yeah, what you're saying is kind of the gist of it. Hello?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, you cut out a bit. I wasn't sure if you were still going or not because my phone's cutting in and out when you talk.
Basically, the point I was trying to make is that because we know that commodities are worth more than their raw materials, right?
Yep.
And we know that the process between raw material to retail commodity is labor, right?
Yeah.
So what Marx and Smith and Ricardo put forth is that what gives new products value, in Smith's words, is the toil and trouble that goes into making it. In other words, labor.
Yeah, I understand that. But what
Okay.
I'm trying to say is, and I understand the thought experiment, but I don't understand how to proceed with that.
Okay, so then that's the labor theory of value, right? So now we have the capitalist, and the bicycle is sold for $500, and obviously he's gonna keep $300 to recuperate the cost of the raw materials and the machine and all that, right? But will he pay the worker full $200 in a capitalist system?
Probably not.
Exactly, because he has to keep some as a profit. Now he's not doing this because he's evil or anything. He just has to. That's how that's how capitalism works. But because that's how capitalism works, workers are not entitled to the full value of their labor.
I understand that. What I'm trying to say is, it doesn't seem very consistent to attach how much the bicycle sells for minus, of course, how much it costs to make it, and just let that be the finance. What?
Labor.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought I heard something.
Oh.
Okay. What I was saying is that it just doesn't seem very. It doesn't seem like it's very consistent to apply to associate how much the labor is worth with how much the retail value is subtracted by how much it costs to make. Because the market's always fluctuating. Not, it may not be crazy, but it is changing.
No, so yeah, the market prices will always stay the same, but regardless of what happens.
No, they won't.
No, sorry. Market prices will never stay the same. Sorry, I misspoke. Market prices will never stay the same. They're always changing, right? But I think it goes without saying that no matter what, unless there's a severe crash in the economy, the market price will always be greater than the price of the raw materials and the machinery, the input costs, right? That's how you make a profit.
Yep.
So, with however way the market price fluctuates, we know for a fact the worker will never get paid the full value of their labor, regardless of how high or how low the price goes.
Well, I still don't agree with that, because what I'm trying to say is that if the price is always changing in the market, does that also mean that the labor that went into it is also changing, or is worth less or worth more based on the market? Because it just seems like if you're gonna do this, you gotta, I don't know, it seems like at least not be consistent if you apply it in real life, which, again, I know it's a thought experiment. Sorry if I repeat myself, I'm pretty tired, so I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine.
Myself over and over.
So you're saying that you find that it's a bit unreliable because the value of their labor will always change, right?
Yeah.
But it's not necessary. It's not tied to a fixed value of labor. It's tied to the added value that is justified when it enters the market, and that added value has to come from somewhere, no? And how much that labor is valued will be subject to market prices. Is that it? Can we agree on that? It's never fixed. Like, we can expand upon your example.
Yeah.
If a machine is invented that allows you to build a bicycle in half the time,
Yeah.
then that labor is instantly worth half as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is subject to fluctuation. So what you're saying isn't not accounted for. It's just saying that the labor is what justifies the added value, no matter how much the price fluctuates.
Well, what else I also don't understand is how is the business owner how is the business owner not owed that money? Not all of it, of course. You have to pay the workers, but if the business owner is the one who's providing the machinery and providing the parts to build the bike, isn't that at least in your eyes worth something?
That's why he takes the 300 to recuperate the cost of the raw materials and the machines.
Well, what's the point of doing that? If you just get back what you put in.
Exactly.
There's really no incentive to do it at all.
That's exactly the point. So like there is so within the capitalist system, you have to take profit from the workers. But if we reorganize this into a socialist economy, worker control, the capitalist is basically a glorified middleman, and you take him out, the whole process of production stays the same. But instead of a capitalist needing to take a cut to justify their involvement, the laborer just takes the whole cut for his labor.
But who's gonna want to be a middleman? Because you're taking all the risk.
No, so there's no middleman. We take the capitalist out of the equation altogether.
Well, then who's the one providing the tools to build the bikes?
You say this like
The workers?
you say this like the capitalists themselves create the tools to build the bike. There's a
Of
like
course, but
99% of the chance the capitalist just sources the capital for it, right?
I suppose so. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
That's private property. 99% of the time, the capitalists will either get investments so they can start up capital, or they use their own private funds. But it's very rare you will see the means of production is the correct shorthand for this. The materials being sourced directly from the capitalists. It's either going to come from the labor of other workers or from the capital of other capitalists who also got that capital from the labor of other workers.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you cutting out? I'm not sure. It's the pause that you're cutting out.
Where did you lose me?
About midway through what you were saying.
What was the last thing you heard?
It was kind of choppy, but I heard capital, and then it sort of just got really bad where I couldn't understand what you were saying.
Okay, yeah. So the point I was trying to make is that the point I was trying to make is that the capitalist in the capitalist system is basically a glorified middleman. It's very rare, if ever, that the means of production, the raw materials, the machinery, the workplace, is even sourced by his own labor. He will get that from his own capital, which was received from a direct result of extracting from other people's labor, be it through his own other business or his dad's business or other investors that invested into his business idea. So what I'm saying in a socialist society is that we don't need this capitalist middleman, because it's not like these raw materials in these workplaces appear out of nowhere. They all are the product of workers' labor. And if workplaces were owned and organized by laborers and they themselves were entitled to the full value of their labor, the laborers themselves could decide how much to set aside for capital to get other stuff, and then justify creating new profit, versus them being dictated to by capitalists who probably isn't even in their workplace.
The only way I really see that working is small scale. Because if the workers go into business, it doesn't take into, unless of course you have to pay to work, it doesn't take into account the business growing. Because, let's say if the business has 3 people and you cut out the middleman, and just 3 people who work there are also the ones who are, footing the bill to get the raw materials.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't understand is how exactly could you grow without either all 3 of them being the middleman, so to speak. They can, of course, still work.
No, so what you're trying to say is that they can't grow if they take the whole pie of their labor for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So of course they're not gonna take all of their labor, but they will get to decide how much of their labor they want to set aside as profit for the company to grow. They can decide themselves instead of being subjected to into an unequal power structure.
Could you repeat that? Because it seems, I don't know, it seemed a bit oddish. Just could you repeat that, please?
So basically, no one is saying that workers, once they're entitled to all the labor, all the wealth their labor creates, they're gonna keep all of that for themselves. I mean, some workers might, but other workers will want to keep aside some money to reinvest into the business or to keep as profit for the business, right?
Yeah.
So that's how that's where the growth is going to come from. The only difference between this arrangement and the capitalist arrangement is that the workers will decide how much of their labor, the value of their labor, will be set aside, versus the capitalists will decide how much the value of their labor will be set aside. On top of that, the value of the labor that gets to be kept will be kept with the worker instead of kept with the capitalists.
What I don't understand about that is that deciding what's going to be set aside, it has to be at least agreed upon.
Yeah, it is. That's how
Scale.
that's kind. Oh, you don't think it happened on large scale? Well,
Well, I don't see it happening. At least when you get to like the size that corporations are nowadays.
so
Maybe like a 20-person place, you could probably do it. But once you get like into hundreds, I really don't see it happening.
are you so? What I'm describing right now is a lot like a worker co-op. Are you familiar with those?
No.
You're not
No.
You're not familiar with a worker co-op. All right.
I've heard about it, but not really.
So basically,
I don't know a lot into it.
we already have some of these socialist arrangements in a capitalist society, and they're called worker cooperatives, where there is no single capitalist or group of capitalists that invest money into the business. It's run by workers. The workers get to elect their managers and supervisors and who goes up the hierarchy of the corporation, and the workers will decide how much of their wages they want to set aside for profit instead of personal gain. And one of the best examples of a worker co-op working on the large scale that you say isn't possible is the Mondragon Corporation. I suggest you Google it. It has an employee number around 75,000, I think. They operate in Spain. So it is possible. There already is a precedent for this happening.
Well, what I don't understand is that you just said that there's a group of people who invested in the company to begin with.
No, there is no group of people that there is no single oligarchy or monopoly of like one dude investing into the company. It's a bunch of workers getting together. It's collective ownership, not private
But
ownership.
who's investing in the company to start to begin with? Like who's the one who started the business? Is what I'm trying to ask. Because what I heard you say is that there's people with investors, and then you go straight to the workers. Well, the point I was going to make was, why aren't the investors entitled to more money? Not necessarily the workers, but than they put in. Because if they're going to get back exactly what they put in, there's no incentive for anyone to do that.
Wait, can you repeat that? I couldn't follow.
Oh, okay. At least based on what I heard you say, I think you said there was investors who gave money to workers, and then the workers took it from there. Correct?
No, I don't think. Are you referring? I said that to a worker cooperative.
But what I'm asking is who put the money in? Is like all the workers put in equally, or was there someone who, or was some group that put the money in to begin with?
Well,
Like, what I'm
obviously,
curious.
obviously, there is no one size fits all solution. This is something that is decided between co-op to co-op. Some co-ops do have different levels of worker ownership than others. Like for example, Huawei is also, I think, it's the biggest co-op in the world. Are you familiar with Huawei?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Chinese company.
yeah. I'm a proud Huawei user.
Yeah, I used to have one, but I dropped it.
Huawei is I think one of the largest co-ops in the world as well, and like the only people that are allowed to own shares in Huawei are workers themselves, but not necessarily all workers own shares. I believe.
Yeah.
Obviously, some that obviously it can't be everyone is in on it, but the difference is the people that do get a say in the company are the people that work in the company, not just so happen to invest in the company. It's different. It's different from company to company. There's no single solution to this.
Alright, well, at least in the case of Huawei, uh, does everyone say, does everyone get the same amount of, does everyone have an equal say in what goes on? Or is there people who are, of course, higher up, so to speak?
Well, they elect their higher ups.
Yeah, but I don't see how that really matters.
It does because in a workplace democracy there are checks and balances on your superiors. For example, if I was in a traditional capitalist organization, let's say my manager was a sexual harasser, and I took it to HR and HR doesn't do anything about it. There's nothing I can do to get rid of him. Whereas in a worker co-op, all the workers get together and vote him out and put someone else in his place.
Well, I don't know about that. At least in a capitalist system. Well, we have, first of all, second harassment, we have legal means to fix it, but even if that doesn't work, if the employees of the collective quit, that's essentially a way of saying, we don't like you, we want to quit. And in the Huawei thing, when you were talking about...
Yeah, but not everyone can. We're looking to solve systemic issues, and not everyone can quit their job. Not and like let's say, all the companies in the world had a sexual harassing manager. That would mean everyone will quit their job. We can't do that. It's far easier, and it's far easier to solve a systemic issue by just removing the bad faith actor, the sexual harasser.
What I don't understand is that I don't understand how electing, at least when something heinous like that, I don't understand how electing someone is, in this case, is different from getting them arrested for sexual harassment.
Okay, perhaps sexual harassment is a bad example. Just say you have a shitty manager that nobody likes, and there's nothing you can do to get rid of him because the guy above him put him there because he likes how he clamps down on workers or whatever. The point still stays the same, right?
Yes, but what I still don't understand is, sure, you can prevent corruption, at least when it comes to managers, but what about the higher ups? Can you elect them and replace them? At least in like Huawei or whatever system you want to talk about, can you elect and replace like the people who at least started the company? I know that you're trying to say that no one person started the company, but
Yeah, the Huawei elections go all the way to the top, to the board, all the way to the top. It's kind of like it's a fully functioning representative democracy within a company.
I still don't see how that gets rid of hierarchy. I thought that was the whole point.
No, we're not abolishing hierarchy. We're abolishing what is perceived as like an unfair, unjust hierarchy, or an undemocratic hierarchy. Because like if it was a capitalist owning the company, like he put in the capital to create the company or whatever, there's nothing you can really do to get him out of there, right?
Yep.
But if you have an elected representative, that's far more equitable and just, wouldn't you say? But like it's basically like, would you rather have a dictator in charge of your country, or would you rather have a president that you can elect?
Well, but what I'm trying to say is I already see an easy way to corrupt that. just get at least like you can oppress a minority of workers, the majority of workers, and you're essentially set for life. And
That's democracy. What you're describing is a problem of all democracy.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. At least in America, we live in a democratic republic, which I'd say is probably one of the better. It's not perfect, of course, but it's just better than democracy in general. Just democracy in general just spawns mob rule.
You're referring to like representative democracy?
Well, when I bring up America, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Well,
what I'm saying is,
the way Huawei and Mondragon are organized are also, it's not like 50% of the vote and then that guy gets everything. It's like section by section. It's a representative democracy as well. And representative democracy is just mob rule for individual constituencies instead of mob rule for the entire country. So at some point when you get down low enough, it's going to be a mob rule.
well, when you say section upon section, do you mean like one person out of a group?
No.
Group is
So like Mondragon has different. It's not a monolith where they just do one thing. I'm pretty sure they are made up of. Let me check real quick. Yeah. They do finance, light industry, retail, and universities, education. So different sectors of the company will have different representatives. It's not just one. The whole company gets together to elect representatives. How's that any different than a state, and it's not state, but a congressional district coming together to elect a representative for themselves?
Well, I'd say it isn't really that different, but what I'm saying is the problem that arises when a state does it, well, at least smaller scale, I'd say, be easier to do. Sorry,
Smaller scale? The Mondragon has 75,000 employees. Aren't most congressional districts bigger than that? 75,000 isn't that big.
Yeah. Well, what I'm trying to say is the same problems that arise with how it is in America will most likely arise in the company as well. Sorry, I'm a bit tired, so I'm repeating myself. Those problems being that the people at the top can pretty much just either bribe or convince the people who are representatives, which I understand you could, of course, re-elect new ones, but what's stopped from the same thing happening over and over and over next cycle?
Oh, you just described bourgeois democracy as well. We have this exact problem in current democracy. So, but like I said, it's still the point is it's a better alternative than having an unelected head. Would you not agree?
No, I wouldn't.
You think an unelected head would be a better alternative?
Yeah, I would. Well, I think that the first person who starts a company is entitled to more money because, again,
No,
the risk.
I get that, but what if we just take that guy out of the equation, where we make a society where,
well,
like,
then I don't see the country. I don't see anyone ever making innovation then. Like I don't see any incentive to make anything new then.
are you saying that innovation can only happen under private property and capitalism?
Well, not necessarily, but I mean, I suppose it could happen in socialism, but like during war or something when the government has interest. But when the government has no interest, I don't really see innovation.
Why must it come from the government though? Why must it come from the government though?
Well, what exactly are the people?
So let's
What
take.
I'm saying without government.
So Albert, so you're saying there needs to be a profit incentive for innovation?
Yes, there needs to be an incentive. Yes.
So you're saying that people are primarily driven by profit to innovate.
Yeah, I think it's human nature. You're not going to do something.
Okay, so then Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, Nikola Tesla, were these people motivated by profit? Monetary gain?
Einstein.
Einstein was a socialist.
What? Yeah. Okay.
No.
He was a mathematician as well, and I wouldn't consider. I mean, he's a genius, yes, but I'm not saying everything he did was correct.
No, but you're saying that people need monetary gain or profit as incentive to innovate,
Well,
right? But that
of course, there's going to be
majority of people.
Of course, there's going to be a few people who are going to, but under a capitalist system, it's more likely to happen. It's more likely to happen more often than a socialist system.
Okay, so how do you account for all the innovation that happened prior to capitalism?
like during monarchs and stuff like that.
Feudalism, slave societies, whatever.
Well, feudalism, I wouldn't necessarily say that was much.
We discovered the we
Much
discovered
innovations. Of course, sorry.
the feudalism
Of course there
lasted.
was.
Oh, you first, you first. Sorry.
I was going to say, of course, there was innovation, but I suspect under a capitalist system, it would happen much faster. Because there were, of course, people who were making more money. Some people were, of course, more interested. I'd say in like a king or someone at the top of the feudal hierarchy would be more incentivized to create more things versus the peasant at the bottom. So again, what I'm trying to say is, sorry, I'm tired. Fuck. I lost my point. What were you gonna make? What were you gonna say?
So the point I'm trying to make is that there has been most of human innovation happened prior to capitalism. You realize that, right?
Yeah, of course. But capitalism is fairly new considering the history of human beings.
Yeah, so the point I'm trying to make is that what if it's not necessarily a profit motive or monetary gain motive for innovation, but humans just want to make life easier. Like you can agree that a lot of human innovation is based around, a lot of human innovation is based on just making, being able to produce more with less labor, for example, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not exclusive to a capitalist system. It's just humans being lazy and trying to find a way to be as lazy as possible but still get the same output.
All right. Well, let me ask you this: under which system are we most likely going to progress further as society? 50 years of capitalism or 50 years of socialism? If we're quantifying, of course, we're quantifying progress by innovation, who's more likely to innovate?
How do you quantify
in
this?
those-
How do you quantify this?
What I'm saying is, who's more likely to innovate as a country within 50 years? Like, that's the set time. And you
Okay.
have one country that's capitalism, one country that's socialist.
Okay, then I'll give you a very fine example for this. The Soviet Union in the 1917 was an agrarian society. Yes.
I couldn't hear the last part. I'm sorry, what?
Russia in 1917 was an agrarian society. Yes.
Yes.
And in a little bit over 20 years, they went from being a backwater agrarian society to a global superpower that rivaled the United States and almost single-handedly beat back the Wehrmacht.
Yeah, but that goes for what I said earlier, where the only way that socialism will innovate on par with capitalism is when the government has an interest. And of course, during war, the government can have an interest in wanting to innovate. But let's say there's no war. What really incentive is there for the government to want to, say, make an iPhone or make a laptop, as opposed to, I don't know, keeping the printing press or...
I think that's a fairly unfair restriction to make because in a lot of the innovation we enjoy today was made under wartime and not necessarily exclusive to capitalism and socialism.
Yeah.
Like I'm
I
pretty sure
that,
I'm pretty sure refrigerators, radio, TV, phones, all these come from wartime.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that when capitalism, it still happens to a much larger degree than under socialism. And the only way, at least that I can see, where socialism can be on the same page with capitalism, speaking based on the speed of innovation or innovations made in general, is during wartime. If there's no wartime, I don't see...
But
if there's no wartime, I see capitalism beating out socialism every time when it comes to making new and improved things.
excuse me.
Would you agree with that?
No, I don't agree because just now we did agree with the premise that human beings, most of human history's innovation was motivated by humans being lazy and wanting the ability to be lazy but still getting more or equal output, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so how is that exclusive to capitalism? Socialist workers want to be lazy too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, well, that also ignores the fact that some people are driven by being better than others, and some people are driven by greed. And I'm not necessarily saying greed is a good virtue to have, but it certainly is an effective one compared to socialism. Because someone who's, let's say, driven by greed is more likely going to try to make more money, which, of course, is going to result in more innovation. Because at least in capitalist society that I'm seeing now,
But how's
the
that any
only way to
different?
make a lot of
But okay, how's that any? How would that not apply in a socialist society too, where workers would want to make as much money from their labor as possible?
well, what I don't understand is that I thought you said that no one person was starting the companies
Yeah.
in a
So
socialist society.
so all the workers, let's say for the sake of argument, get together one day and say, "Hey, we're not making bicycles faster enough. What can we do to speed up the process?"
Well, what if it's
and
one person? What if one person wants to speed it up?
if it's a one man, I don't have an issue with a one man company.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why shouldn't they be allowed to
They
at
can
least grow
no.
bigger?
I don't have an issue with a one man company. The part where I take issue with is when they hire another person and then start extracting wages from that person, extracting labor value from that person. If it was a one man job and he is working on his production himself and he's taking all the value from himself, that's just another word for a freelancer.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is why aren't they entitled to more money if they want to expand? If they want more people to make more of the product faster, why aren't they entitled? They're the ones who started the company, and they're the ones who again showed up the risk to start the company. I don't understand how someone who came afterwards is entitled to the same amount of money as they are.
They're not entitled to the same amount of money as they are. They're just entitled to whatever value they themselves create.
Yeah, but what at least when the bicycle sorry theory, I don't know what it's called, but the bicycle theory, I'm just gonna call it that.
Labor theory of value. The bicycle
Okay, let's
is
say
up.
value.
Yeah.
Sorry. When you brought that up, you assumed, or at least you said that the $300 that it took to make the bicycle would, of course, go straight to the company, and then the $200 that was, at least in your view,
The value of the labor.
the value of labor. But what I don't understand is if I start the business, I have no incentive to do any more because I'm just getting back what I put in. If I start a business, I should be paid more. Since I'm the one starting it,
Well,
if I'm not, if
like-
I paid
like-
exactly what I have, I
like-
can't expand.
Like I already said, the other dude, like no one, any worker that runs a business, assuming this is a market socialist economy, any worker that runs a business, if they want to stay in the game because of how markets work, they're not gonna keep all their labor to themselves. They're not gonna do that, duh. Because if they,
You're assuming that they aren't. You're assuming that human nature would go against that, but I don't know.
no, but
If I could rely
but
on someone
no,
else doing
human
the bill, I will.
human nature would prove. If you say human nature argument, then that will prove my point. Because if both workers want to be able to make more of a profit, they will do what they can to reinvest into the company and create some form of quote unquote innovation. And obviously, the workers will discuss this between themselves. Hey, how are we going to foot the bill? How do we divide the responsibilities? And if they can't come to an agreement, then that's too bad. That's how humans, well, they discuss, they disagree, then nothing gets done.
What I don't understand is, what does that leave the person who started the business? Like, the person who started the business, they're footing $300 bill. If he gets more employees, should that money that it takes to buy the products, should that cost be divided among them? Because I don't really see that working either.
Okay, so what you're trying to say is that once the guy who starts the company hires another worker on board, you think it's unfair that he still foots the $300 but doesn't get to take something out of $200, right?
Yeah.
So what I would imagine will happen in this example is that when new employers get on board, they like talk together, they make an agreement, and now instead of the one guy footing the $300 thing, it's two guys footing it together. It has to be it's a cooperative. It's not a one man has to bear the cost of everything. It's collective ownership, because what you're describing is a private owner that's just not extracting value from the other dude. where what I'm advocating for is collective ownership, collective responsibility, collective profit.
Well,
Not,
I don't know. I still don't see it working, and it also doesn't take into account what if someone can make 2 bikes faster than someone with 1 bike?
then
Should he be compensated more?
yeah, he'll get compensated for 2 bikes then. I already said I'm not saying they get paid the same. I'm saying they get paid the value of their labor. So if in one day one dude sells or produces 12 bikes and the other dude produces 10 bikes, the guy who produced 12 bikes will get paid for the value of 12 bikes. I'm saying they should be entitled to their labor. I'm not saying they should be entitled to the same wages. There's a difference. I already mentioned this before, that harder workers do get compensated more. It even happened in the Soviet Union.
Well, I wouldn't know, to be honest. I've read about 2 books on it, and that was a while ago, so I'm assuming you know more than I do about the Soviet Union.
Yeah, I guess.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm like midway through yawning. So if you hear breaks, odds are I'm yawning or something.
Alright.
But what I don't see is I just don't see any incentive to start a new thing. If I can just join another company, and I'm assuming, of course, with more people, the spreading out of the money that it takes to buy the products is going to essentially be nothing with enough people. What I don't see is someone ever taking the risk to start their own company. I just see
Why do people need
megacorp.
Okay, so you're describing this as an issue within a market economy, which I don't advocate for. I'm not advocating for a market socialist economy. If I had my way, it would be a planned socialist economy with some market elements at the very lowest levels of society.
Could you elaborate on that? Like, are you saying you wouldn't advocate for like a consumerism type thing? Like, people
I think market elements can be introduced at like the very lowest levels of society, like I don't know, your local farmers market or whatever crap. But like when it comes to the real large scale stuff, like making steel or making vehicles, it will be a planned economy.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's vehicles, so does everyone get a vehicle, or like does everyone just get a vehicle courtesy of the government, or do you like I don't see how you not buy a vehicle unless of course you can give everyone a vehicle.
So right now, right, the motive for production is profit, right? So we produce first and then we think about selling later, right?
Well, I don't see how it's gonna work.
No, let
Selling should be your first concern. It should be your main concern.
I'm talking about our current society, because like we agree that there is a lot of wastage where people tend to overproduce and then they can't sell everything they produce, and it's just cheaper for them to throw out the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in a planned economy, instead of producing first and then thinking about how to get rid of the stock later, they would receive the stock. Like how much is let's say, for the sake of the argument, the regional representative will be like, yo, could you fit us 500 cars? And they'll be like, yo, you'll get 500 cars next month, and just like that.
Well, what I don't understand is that once you're done with that, then how are you gonna make more money? Are you gonna just go to a different company, or
you don't need money in a planned economy? You generally don't need money, because now the motive for production is not fulfilling demand for the sake of profit. It's fulfilling demand for the sake of need, production for need. So if you know every day people need so and so amount of something, you produce that amount of it, or maybe a little bit more to account for possible spoilage or whatever crap.
all right, well then another problem arises. What's the incentive for me to work at all? Like, why don't I just sit back and let other people in my country do all the work, and I can reap the benefits? Like I get a free car or whatever else.
People did get paid in the Soviet Union, you know that, right?
They did not.
They did.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if money, at least in what you're trying to create, is useless,
you can use money to buy. No, that's why I mentioned there were market elements at the very lowest points of society. You could use that money to buy like luxuries, like go to the theater or go bowling, or like if you want to enjoy.
Yeah, but
if you want to enjoy the finer things,
luxuries to survive.
Yeah,
I just pretty much just sit back and let other people do all the work, and me get the bare necessities. That's not fair. If you
So-
don't do any work, you shouldn't get anything ever.
Are you saying you're making a human nature argument where if people have everything provided for them, they won't bother working?
To a certain degree, yes. Of course, there's going to be anomalies, but
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to disagree.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to disagree with this premise because I don't think humans are like intrinsic in this way, and humans are instead shaped by their material circumstances. And humans are adaptable. They will adapt to where they are. So if you put a human into the example society I described, and like they are motivated or driven by the material conditions, they will do their part and work for everyone else. And generally speaking, the contract, the agreement they have with society is, I know that if I do my part, other people will be doing their part as well. And it's based on this common trust between society that if everyone does their job to keep society going, everything will be nice and dandy. It's cooperative. It's communal.
well, I still don't see how no one's going to take advantage of that. You could say that people are a product of their environment, but I don't see how no one's going to take advantage
Obviously,
of that.
there'll be
Just sit back.
anomalies. Obviously, there'll be anomalies. There will always be assholes. The way the Soviet Union dealt with these people is a little bit heavy-handed, and I don't agree with it. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it either, but it happened, and they put those people to work in other ways,
The
and
gulag, you mean?
yeah, no. So here's the thing, right? What if I don't work in a capitalist system? Then I don't get any money. I can't buy food. I can't buy water. I can't get health, whatever crap. I die. How is that any different from I don't work in a socialist society? I get put to work. In both circumstances, let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. In both scenarios, you are forced to work anyway. Otherwise, in a capitalist society, you die. On a socialist society, you're forced to work. So in a capitalist society, you're forced to work anyway.
Not necessarily, no. If let's say right now I want to go out in the woods and just live there and live off the land, I could do that.
You can do that in a socialist society too.
I don't see how. I don't understand how you could do that in a socialist society.
You just said right that what is stopping people from just sitting back and like reaping the benefits of common collective cooperation and not working themselves. But there's nothing stopping them from forfeiting the free stuff they get and going to the woods and starting their own life. It becomes a problem. It becomes a problem when they start leeching off the labor of the rest of society without doing anything themselves.
I don't know. I don't see how that could work unless you want to make an entire government, unless you want to make an entire system based off of fear. Based off of fear, like me saying, if I don't work, I'm going to be put in prison. I don't see capitalism having the same issue.
No, instead in capitalism is if I don't work, I starve to death.
Well, there's still, of course, charity and food shelters.
Yeah, and
Which,
charity and food
those
shelters are not very
they're not-
capitalist institutions, are they?
No, I'd say yes, they're socialist. They are at least more in line with socialism than capitalism. But I'm not arguing for like anarcho-capitalism. I'm just saying that capitalism does have its place in the world. Socialism, of course, it's useful, but in much smaller degrees.
Okay, I'm not saying capitalism doesn't have a place in the world. Without capitalism, socialism would be possible. Let me get that straight first. But the point I'm trying to make is that the scenario you're describing against socialism is exactly what happens in capitalism as well. People are forced to work, regardless. The only difference is in one you get put in the gulag, the other you starve to death.
Well, I don't know, because if I go in the middle of the woods...
You can do that in a socialist state too. Nothing
You
is
can
stopping.
do that, but...
Yeah, you
but
can
I
do
don't
that.
I'm not saying you can't do that, but what I am saying is that it's human nature to try and take from other people.
Yeah, and
So,
in both...
if I go in the middle of the woods, who's going to stop me from taking things? Who's going to stop me from taking other people's work? And what's going to stop me? Because if it's not gulags, then what's the punishment for
Wait,
that?
what do you say? If I go into the woods, what's going to stop me from taking other people's work?
Yeah, what's going to stop me from taking other people's work, except for something as heavy as gulag? I don't see
Okay, so
how you could do that without gulag.
I'm working with the presumption when you say you go into the woods, you forfeit all the free welfare you get from the government, meaning you don't get...
But what I'm saying is people aren't going... I'm just saying that people are not going to do that.
People are not going to go to the woods. You're saying.
If I get free crap, I would definitely do that.
If you get free crap, you will go to the woods.
If I had free, I
But
can't
you don't
all
you
the stuff I'm getting for free.
you
I
don't
just live in the middle of the woods. I get free stuff.
yeah, but you don't. That's not how like if you I'm assuming your scenario. What you're trying to say is that I refuse to take part in the society. I'm gonna go live in the woods instead. And once you do that, you're no longer entitled to the benefits you get from living in that society. You can't get
Well,
the free stuff anymore because you're not part of that society anymore. You're part of your own little woods commune, whatever crap you're trying to make.
Sorry.
You start your own
What I'm
society in the
saying-
woods. Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying, well, of course not inside the woods, but like just going off alone in general. Like,
That's
how
not-
are they gonna enforce that? They're just gonna like just not give me free things? Because if that's the case, then I can just live in the middle of the city and just not work and just still get free things. Basically, my point is that there's no way to really do that.
No, that's why in
And
the
me to de-incentivize me to take free stuff from the government unless you have a punishment that's as heavy as gulags.
I don't see how gulags are any worse a punishment than starving to death. Both are coercive.
Well, I mean, you're starving to death and you're also being worked to death under threat from the government.
Yeah, but both are
Versus-
coercive. So like, what is the difference?
I don't understand how it's necessarily. I don't understand how it's coercive to. I don't understand how it's coercive to not get anything if you don't put anything in the system.
Because
of course, capitalism, but
you need-
socialism.
you need food to survive. You need a roof over your head. You need water. If you don't get these things, you die.
And also, what I was understanding is you're assuming that everyone's work is equal to begin with.
No, I didn't
Like,
say
if
that.
One person.
I already mentioned that people can have different outputs of value.
Yeah, but no. What I'm saying is that the only way that you're really quantifying, like, if everyone gets the bare necessities, there's no real incentive for, let's say, me to do any hard jobs to begin with. I'm gonna take a piss easy job, and I can just live off the state, and just keep doing the easy job until I die. Versus if someone has a harder job.
Did you think everyone in the Soviet Union was equal based on the work, even regardless of what work they did?
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying is if let's say the easiest job in the world gives you the bare necessities, I don't see any incentive to bother to try and go for a harder job.
Because
That would.
so did you like varying jobs had different benefits and like compensation to them, like the Soviet Union didn't eliminate inequality; it just made distribution more equitable and just. Doctors still had better compensation than janitors. They were still
They got more money, or
they would get like more rubles. They would get better housing. They would be privy to more benefits from the government.
yeah, but that's still not at least for some people, it's still not incentive enough.
So you're saying once the bare essentials are handled with, some people just will never work a hard job ever
Some
again?
people, I'm not saying necessarily, but some people, I'd argue a lot of people would just do that. A lot of people would just take an easy job and just live off of that, and it's not really.
Do you have any way to like prove this or quantify this? Because like I find it like you just said yourself, humans are driven by personal gain or whatever. So I don't see how it's not impossible for some people to be like born into a farmer's family and be like, hey, I want to go to Soviet University and study engineering. I want to be an engineer in Moscow. I want a nice apartment and stuff like that. I don't see how that's not too wild of an idea.
Well, the difference between people being selfish when it comes to capitalism versus selfish when it comes to socialism is that being selfish, at least based on how socialists see it, not necessarily you, but at least when they're talking in the past, is wanting to make more money, which of course comes with making a business, which of course comes with bigger risk. But being selfish in a socialist country, I can just do an easy job, sit back, reap the benefits, and I'm pretty much set. So a selfish person in a Soviet society, I'd argue, drags down society, versus a selfish person in a capitalist society enhances it. Like, do you understand did you get my point, or? Because I was rambling a bit there. I could rephrase it if you'd like.
Yeah, can you phrase that a little bit clearer? I think I get where you're coming from, but just repeat that.
Okay. what I'm saying is being selfish in a social society is much different than being selfish in a capitalist society. Because based on people who don't like capitalism, not necessarily you, but just people I've talked to who are more socialist in general, tend to equate selfishness with wanting to make more money. But what comes with that, at least when it comes to companies, is innovation and stuff like that versus being selfish in a social society. It's much easier and much more tempting to just do an easy job, sit back, and get the bare necessities. So the selfish people in a social society, I'd argue, are dragging down the system versus the selfish people in a capitalist society are enhancing it with innovation.
Are you saying people don't get rewarded for innovation under socialism?
not not necessarily. If everyone gets rewarded as a collective, if the country gets rewarded as a collective, I don't really see it as a reward. I just see it as a rise in the comfort of living.
Is that not compensation?
Well, I mean, it's easier for me. Well, it's easier for me to sit back and not really change what I do. Like, I don't understand how, if you reward everyone equally, I don't understand how you could argue that people aren't just going to do easy stuff and let other people do all the hard work, which would, I'd argue, innovate the country.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry. I'm rambling a bit more as of now than earlier.
Yeah, don't worry. We're already past the hour mark, so how about we call this quits in like 10 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, what else basically trying to say is, if everyone's rewarded in a socialist society, it's a lot more tempting to just sit back, do the same thing you've always done, and let someone else do all the heavy lifting, so to speak, to enhance the quality of life for other people. Like, I don't understand how you could really make someone incentivized to want to do better unless there's something that can gain and also lose. If there's nothing for me, like if there's nothing I have to do to gain, I'm not going to do any extra work than I have to. I'll just let someone else do it.
But you do gain more for working more. You realize that, right?
Well, what you're trying to say though is that, correct me if I'm wrong, what you were saying earlier is that as the country innovates, the quality of life of everyone who participates in the socialist system goes up, correct?
Yeah, the same also applies to the capitalist one, no?
Yeah, but for different reason. What I'd say though, what I'm saying, at least in a socialist society, what's the incentive for me to take the initiative? Like, what's stopping me from just sitting back and letting someone else do the heavy lifting and letting them just raise the quality of life for me and everyone else?
What was the incentive for Einstein to take the initiative to devise E equal mc squared?
I couldn't hear that. What?
What was the incentive that gave Einstein the initiative to devise E equal mc squared?
That's anecdotal. I don't understand how you could really
Because
base an entire society off of a few people who've done good things.
No, because you're saying like innovation can only come from.
No, not only, but it comes a lot faster and a lot easier from a capitalist society than it does.
Is there any way that you can like quantifiably prove this other than like a thought experiment?
Well, is there any way I could prove that a capitalist society does better than a social society, economically speaking?
Define economically speaking. Like, define doing better economically speaking. Like, within what are the parameters?
I'd say, as a nation, economically speaking, I'd make the argument that if a capitalist society is doing better, of course there's going to be a lot more money for people to use on things they want necessarily than not they need to survive. Sorry. Let me restart that. Sorry, I'm fucking myself in the head already. I know. I'm talking like a retard right now. I'm not. Shit. Oh, okay. I'll do this then. Economically speaking, at least the way I define it, being better off versus worse off is if you have a country that, or at least the people in the country, have more money to buy goods rather than needs
Wants, you mean?
versus I'm sorry, what?
Wants instead of needs, you mean?
Yeah. Sorry. See, that's what I mean. I'm saying dumb things at a certain point. Yeah, that's it. I
So,
can't really. I
yeah.
can't really.
Okay, I'll finish the point for you. You're trying to say that like a society is more economically successful if people have more disposable income, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if that society like has objectively more disposable income, but that disposable income is more or less concentrated between the top 20%, and then the bottom 80% is getting paycheck to paycheck? Would you consider that successful?
Well, is that how it is in America? The bottom 8% are living.
That's how it works in across like globally speaking. The top 20% of the world has disposable income, and the bottom 80% is living on like less than
Living
$10 a
paycheck
day.
to paycheck.
Like less than $10 a day, paycheck to paycheck. Yeah,
In America or the world?
the world totally. In America, I don't know
Well,
what
the world's not.
I don't have any specifics for like America, but I'm fairly certain that the disposable income of the lower percentage brackets is also steadily decreasing.
Well, in America, I will admit there are some people who live paycheck to paycheck.
Some.
It's definitely not 80%.
No, I'm saying that like
But
within using the metric you make, right? Saying that like a society that just has more disposable income. What if that society, the disposable income is only concentrated between the top 20%? Or like, okay, let's do America.
Yeah.
Let's do a very fair one, yeah? Let's say the top 40% has a shit ton of disposable income, and then the bottom 40% is living paycheck to paycheck, and then the middle 20% is like how they like shift between paycheck to paycheck and having disposable income. Would you say that's an economically successful society?
well, that doesn't necessarily raise the quality of life for people as a collective. Sorry if I make this clear. I think I might have forgot to leave out a few steps of what I was saying, but
Yeah,
that doesn't increase the doesn't increase the quality of life as America as a whole. It just increases the quality of life of the top 10 or 20%.
Yeah, so
Which it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't mean it's not economically successful. I'd argue it is. It's not good, but it's still economically successful
okay,
to an extent. But my main concern is quality of life, which I only see people doing their fair share or what their incentive to do under a capitalist system. Because, like I said earlier, a socialist system, socialist system. There's going to be people. I'm not saying everyone, but I suspect a good amount. I don't have any evidence, but I suspect a good amount of people who are just going to sit back, let other people do all the work, and let them slowly raise their quality of life as well. Whereas that doesn't happen in capitalism, or at least not to the same degree as it would in socialism.
just for a frame of reference, the Soviet Union was consistently second place in GDP for the entirety of the Cold War, and it had shot up beyond all the other capitalist states except America between 1917 and 1941.
Well, that brings me to the point earlier where I was going to say, I see socialism only really being viable during a war, because the government's essentially the incentive.
Okay, then what about so then let's take Cuba for example. Why does Cuban citizens enjoy a better, like generally speaking, a better quality of life than most of Latin America, despite not having been at war since late 1950s, and under a $1 trillion embargo, by the way.
I don't know. I don't really follow what's happening in Latin America, but based on what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing from Cuba, they aren't doing fantastic.
They aren't doing fantastic because they have a $1 trillion embargo. But by all metrics, in regards of human quality of life, humanitarian metrics, they enjoy, generally speaking, a better quality of life than the rest of Latin America, except for like a few states like Argentina.
I would know. I don't really follow Latin America. I don't even know the countries there. I got like a fucking C in geometry, dude. Like, I don't know. You could, like, if you're not to go to America or a major continent or country, historically speaking, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's essentially dead. No offense,
Okay,
if people if you're from those countries.
Surely you know where Cuba is from. Where Cuba is, right?
Fucking no.
It's 90 miles off the coast of Florida. It's the island nation where y'all had the Cuban Missile Crisis 50 years ago.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small commie nation off the coast of Cuba, where like in Miami they have a bunch of capitalists that fled the Cuban Revolution.
Miami had a bike shop that fled the Cuban.
No, in Miami, all the capitalists fled from the revolution. They went to Miami. It's the closest major city. There's a place in Miami called Little Havana. Yeah, no, the point I'm trying to make is that Cuba, which has been under $1 trillion embargo, and by the way, it's become a ritual at this point, every year at the United Nations General Assembly, where they will say to the US, are you going to lift your embargo against Cuba? And they'll be like, no. And they have been under this embargo from the United States and all the Western powers since 1961, I think. And despite that, and despite having no real natural resources beyond cash crops, they have managed to somehow give their citizens a better quality of life than the rest of the capitalist nations in Latin America that also that have the opportunity to take part in economic cooperation with the capitalist powers of the world, including the US.
Well, I don't know. Based on what I'm seeing from the news coming out of there, there's almost a civil war happening, and they're not doing great.
Almost a civil war happening?
Anecdotal.
Wait, what news? Are you following CNN's coverage of Cuba or what?
Fucking no. I get most of my news from just random news sources that I tend to trust. I don't really like watching mainstream.
Yeah, no.
Left or right.
CNN is not left. They still support U.S. foreign policy interests. At
least in America, it's more leftist in the American way.
I get what you mean.
Versus globally, I don't know.
Domestically speaking, there is a left-right split. But in regards of foreign policy, which is what truly matters to me, both sides are the same. CNN's foreign policy.
CNN and Fox News.
Their foreign policy is exactly the same. So it matters fuck all in this instance. But the point I'm trying to make is that no, you don't have to look at news sites. Just use like United Nations metrics, and they will tell you that Cuba is doing better than most of Latin America.
Well, that isn't necessarily. That could just mean Latin America sucks.
Yeah, Latin America.
Great.
No, Latin America sucks. Yet Cuba, the only socialist state in Latin America, which doesn't have which cannot take part in global trade, international trade, is somehow affording its citizens a better quality of life. And it's not just better than Latin America. On some metrics, it's on par with the United States.
In what metrics are those exactly?
Let me send them to you right now on Discord.
Sure. But what the point I was going to make after this, I think, I don't know, kind of going in and out of it, is which countries are doing better than others? Like, fuck.
Okay, so the international rankings of Cuba, right? Hold on, you go on to your point.
What I was going to say is the countries that are superpowers, the countries that are doing better than other countries. I hope we can agree on this. They tend to be run in a capitalist system. Agreed or disagreed?
The countries that are a superpower tend to be run in a capitalist system.
The countries like the top countries in the world.
Okay, well, first of all, the USSR, the USSR was a superpower that wasn't a capitalist country, and China is on par to beat the United States in like 5 years.
Yeah, but China has or at least it gets a lot of its money from a capitalist system. Like, I don't know how you could argue that, and then also I don't know how you could argue against that, and then also have most capitalists in America.
Let's not get into China. Let's not get into China because that's a whole other conversation. So I'm gonna drop that point. But you mentioned the superpowers are socialist states. Once again, the Soviet Union was a superpower for the second half of the 20th century, and I'm fairly certain the DPRK and South Korea were like on par up until the 80s when the decline happened in the Soviet Union. I'm sure I could find more metrics for you to show how well socialist states do with like their neighbors, but haven't got any at the moment. Anyway, for those rankings on Cuba, right? In terms of education, they are ranked 6 out of 168. For youth literacy rate, they are ranked 6. For adult literacy rate, they're ranked 7. For elderly literacy rate, they're ranked 8. For quality of education, they are ranked number 1 out of the entire Latin American region. In the
Again, I don't.
in the Human Development Index, they're ranked number 72 out of 189. In terms of GDP per capita, 92. I'm gonna check what the United States HDI is for a moment. United States HDI rank.
All these statistics you brought up, they're exclusive to Latin America, correct?
No, the HDI is global. It's the United States Human Development Index.
No. Earlier, when you're talking about like it's
No.
like one quality of life, six education.
Those are out of the world. The only one that is for out of Latin America is quality of education overall. But in terms of out of the entire world, they are 6, 7, and 9 for youth, adult, and elderly literacy.
I don't know. Could you send that statistic over on the Discord chat for me real quick?
It's quite literally okay. I'll just send it to you. It's the Wikipedia page for the international rankings of Cuba. Sent.
All right. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just that I don't know. I just didn't know that. I'm actually curious now.
In the International Baseball Federation, they're number 1. They're better at baseball than you are.
Yeah, but to be fair, in 2020, no one really cares about baseball anymore. We've kind of moved on from the sport.
I thought baseball was America's favorite pastime.
Yeah, I mean, it was. It was. I don't know about it anymore. I think football is pretty much America's now. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really watch sports, but based on the adverts I see and what I see on TV, what I see on TV when it comes to the rankings, it's usually football over baseball. American football, not soccer.
Their mortality rate is 40th out of the rest of the world. Holy shit! I'm willing to bet you the U.S. is above Cuba in this.
In mortality rate?
Yeah, in mortality rate under 5. Let's see.
Yeah, probably due to, I'd say, automobile accidents.
No, mortality rate for under 5.
Obesity.
No, mortality rate for under 5-year-olds. Under 5. So for children. Okay, the United States is... Hold on a sec, yeah?
Yeah.
The United States... What number is this? This is not telling me shit. What is that rank? The United States is most recent value. I'm not getting... Hold on. United States infant mortality rate rank. List of countries by infant and under 5 mortality rate. Okay, so can't find Cuba. Hold on.
Alright.
Find Cuba. Cuba is 38. United States. The United States is 44. So you guys are behind a third world country under $1 trillion embargo in terms of infant mortality rate. Just for frame of reference. The point I'm trying to make, right?
Well,
the point I'm trying to make is that disposable income and wealth means jack shit if you can't guarantee a living standard for the most vulnerable people in society. Should people serve the economy or should the economy serve the people? Is the point I'm trying to make.
I don't know. I make young that people should serve the economy. Like I understand it comes off as me being an arrogant asshole, but to a certain degree, I think that in a functioning society there should be a hierarchy. People who do at least what society perceives as harder work or takes bigger risks should be rewarded more so than the people who don't.
Once again, I'm not against hierarchy. I'm against unjustified hierarchies in my opinion.
Yeah, but I understand that. What I'm saying is the hierarchies you're trying to say, I don't see how they're unjust.
So I guess the issue is we just have different values. Especially like I'm quite shocked to hear you say that people should serve the economy. I think this is the first time I heard someone say that.
I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but what I'm trying to say is that I don't think that the economy should necessarily. I think they should be like met in the middle, so to speak.
But don't you think that a society's first priority should be to afford an actual living standard for all of its people first, and then only think about disposable income?
Well, living standard. I suppose so, but what do you mean by living standard? Like, do you mean
like for example, Cuba has a lower infant mortality rate than the United States.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'm looking at it now, and a lot of these issues that come with infant mortality rate are due to obesity, and a lot of it's high blood pressure, diabetes.
You're telling me infants in the United States are dying of obesity?
Oh, not obesity, but like in conditions, and of course, a condition that the mother is mostly brought upon herself is coming to hurt the babies.
Okay, there you go. So then the general health of the United States population isn't very good. So like
that's due to obesity, though. I don't understand. Like, if you asked me to be fat or be anorexic, I'm gonna pick fat any day.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make, there's a reason why America has an obesity crisis. But before I address that, the point I'm trying to make is that shouldn't we as a society focus on trying to make sure everybody can afford an actual standard of living and not live in a mud shack being worried about their 5-year-old dying, instead of, hey, Jeff Bezos has a $20 million bonus. Good job, society. Let's call it a day and go home. Who cares about starving poor people, right?
Sorry.
Like I don't give a shit if like the top 1% has like a 500% increase in gains tomorrow. If like the bottom 40% of society still lives in squalor, I'd say it's a failed state.
So what you're talking about earlier, like, I believe you brought up quality of life. Forgive me if I'm screwing up the actual wording of it. But essentially you said that people should be guaranteed like a living wage, correct? Is that what you're saying earlier?
No, I'm not saying anything about a living wage. I'm just saying being able to enjoy a decent quality of life. Meaning having a roof over your head, food on your plate, and not worrying about, I don't know, health insurance or whatever crap people worry about in America.
Well, I don't like health insurance, so we'd probably agree on that. But what I'm trying to say is that I think people should have a good quality of life, provided they contribute to society.
So then my question is, which is more important? Measuring how much disposable income a country has, or measuring how little poverty a country has?
I suppose poverty. But Cuba, I don't know what to say, dude. At least if you take into account America versus the rest of the world, I don't know the exact number.
Of course, America is better. Of course, America is better than most of Africa. But there are very specific geopolitical reasons for that. Would you not? Would you agree?
Yeah, of course, I'd agree with that.
So the point I'm trying to make, because you say that socialism can't afford people, because you mentioned something about like better economy, better people, all that crap. The point I'm trying to make is that socialism does afford people a better quality of life. And like Cuba, which I repeat is under an embargo from most of the major nations in the world, 90 miles off the coast of America, can afford a better quality of life than most of Latin America, most of its neighbors in Latin America, and in some respects better than America as well. I think there is a problem with the way we organize our economy and how we distribute the resources we create. We definitely produce enough for everyone to afford a decent quality of life, yet everyone does not afford a decent quality of life. I see a problem with that.
Well, I don't know. I think you got to look why. I mean, if someone... Like, I understand that you believe that if someone's working, they should be given... I'm paraphrasing, but what you're saying is that someone's working, they should be given the bare minimums.
No, not just the bare minimum. We've already progressed past the point in terms of technological advancement and production capability where we can give people more than just the bare minimum. For example, in my city, right, in Kuala Lumpur, we have about 10,000 homeless people, yet we have like 34,000 vacant homes. I see an issue with that.
You still have to maintain the homes.
Yeah, we need to maintain the homes, but like we as a society, we as a society can definitely source the capital or revenue, whatever crap, whatever money you want to use for that. We can definitely source it.
From who? The taxpayers?
Sure, we can source it from the fucking taxpayers. If it was a planned, the thing is, if it was a planned economy, we wouldn't even need to worry about where we're going to get the money from because people would just work, and everyone would work with the common knowledge that
I just don't.
if we do our part, then everyone else will do their part too. That's the incentive for people to work.
Well, I don't know. You're basing this whole thing on that people are just going to all like be, not necessarily buddy, but friends with each other and just kumbaya.
But that's how it happened in the Soviet Union for 70 years.
Everyone. For what?
That's exactly what happened in the Soviet Union for 70 years. People just work and buddy up with each other, kumbaya, and
well,
they built.
That's because they were under threat if you didn't do that, of being imprisoned.
How is that any different than capitalism?
Because under capitalism, if you don't work, you don't get arrested by the government.
No, instead you starve to death.
Not all the time, though.
If you don't have any revenue, if you're flat broke, okay, if you're flat broke and you have no revenue and you don't get a job within 2 weeks, where are you gonna get food from? Shelters?
I suppose you can also get out the street, or you can just go in the middle of nowhere and live off the land that way.
Not everyone can just go off and live off the land. And once again, we're trying to solve systemic problems. You don't solve systemic problems by telling one person to go live off the land. If everybody
I'm not saying you have to.
No, but if you're using that as a solution to a systemic issue, it's not a solution because if everybody just left the city today and went to go live in the forests, well, obviously that's not a realistic solution, is it?
Yeah, but it's also not a good solution for you to say that if you don't work, we as the government are going to pretty much ruin your life. We're going to imprison you, we're going to work you, and we're going to starve you. I don't see how that's like. I don't know. I'd rather be starving in America than in a gulag in the Soviet Union. Can we at least agree on that?
I'm thinking, right. Let me just go check real quick about what the Soviet Union did to people that didn't work. Because I'm not so sure myself about what they did. I know for a fact that some people were in prison.
Yeah, I know. Of course I read the Gulag Archipelago, but
the Gulag Archipelago is fiction. The Gulag Archipelago is fiction. It says so on the first page.
Yeah, but isn't it doesn't it have
No, it's based on
some truth.
It's fiction. You don't even if it's based on some truth, right? Let's take Hollywood movies that are based on truth. You don't watch a Hollywood rendition of D-Day as a historical work of what happened at Omaha Beach. You don't watch Saving Private Ryan to know what happened in Normandy in 1944.
No, well that was my point. My point was that I read Gulag Archipelago and then I followed up with what odds are it's hyperbolic or odds are it's not all true. That's what I was going to say. But you have to admit that there were atrocities. Like, even if you don't know about it, there were atrocities in the Gulag. Like, being forced to work under threat of death is pretty bad. Even if not everything Gulag Archipelago is true, you have to acknowledge that. At least me personally, I'd rather be poor and on the street rather than being in a camp.
Okay, but
forced to work by the government.
Okay, before I address the Gulag Archipelago, the Soviet Constitution of 1936, the Stalin Constitution, Article 12 stated, labor in the USSR is a duty and honorable obligation of each able citizen according to the principle, those who don't work, don't eat. As a result, the people that did avoid employment, the people that avoid working, avoided it for two reasons. One was political, the other was criminal. The political people were underground activists or artists who became known as Odkazinsky, from the Russian word refuse. However, a lot of them will get simple manual labor work like street sweepers that will allow them to avoid jail time and give them an opportunity to work on their interests. So like artists basically. Let me finish. The other one will be criminals. For many criminals, to have a legal occupation was considered a faux pas, especially if one was a thief in law, aka vor v zakon, Many criminals who committed a crime of parasitism became known as borzi, from a Russian abbreviation of the word bors, without a specific kind of work, which is a play of words, which since borzi means active, fresh, smartass. So basically, people worked anyway, and the only reasons why people didn't work was because they wanted to be an artist, in which case they still got manual work anyway, or they were criminals.
By force, they're forced manual work.
Yeah, they were, no, not forced manual. They themselves got simple manual work, like street sweeping. Or the other reason is because they wanted to use it as a cover to become a criminal, to do underground work, illegal work.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean,
But
Sorry,
I still don't see how being sent to the gulag is any different than starving to death under the capitalism. And by the way, the Gulag Archipelago is fiction. I'm sure I will look for it.
I know.
I'll look for it for you later. There are like CIA documents where the CIA themselves admit that gulags had better conditions than U.S. prisons. So I don't know.
Like what, prisons fucking now or back then?
Back then,
Oh, I
you
don't know.
you hold them to the same historical context.
Yeah, you should. I agree with that, but
CIA
I don't really know what
gulags.
prisons were back.
back-
I don't know what prisons were like in America. Back
Prisons in
then.
America now are still suck.
Yeah, of course they still suck. But
Okay, according to the Telegraph.
prisons tend to suck in general.
Okay, wait, no, not this. I'm
But
looking.
what
I'm
else-
looking. Yeah, go
What I was
on.
going to say is that what I was going to say is if you weren't a criminal, I understand the whole if you don't work you don't eat. That I'm fine with. But if you weren't a criminal, I don't understand why you'd still be forced to work.
Because you're expected to give back to society if you yourself are going to take from society, just like capitalism. You can't. The difference is right in the Soviet Union, you got from society first and then you're expected to work. Whereas in a capitalist system, you work for society first and then you get back.
Okay, you know what I was also going to ask is that if hypothetically a socialist country that you'd want was enacted, would you how would you substitute gulags, or at least would you just keep them as is, or
I don't have an issue with work camps, me personally. Because I have faith that the common let me finish. I have faith that the common working man would actually want the opportunity to work. Because if you find yourself in the right field of employment, work and labor is actually a very fulfilling thing. It's actually a really it's a great feeling in the world, being able to work and give to society and be appreciated for your labor. So I have faith in the common working man to want to work.
Well, I agree with you when you say that people do find fulfillment in working. I do agree with that. But I don't agree that if you don't work, you should be forced in work camps. And when you say that people want to work, you have to acknowledge that maybe they do want to work, but they're also under fear of government tyranny, of course, that being work camps.
I still don't see how government tyranny is any different than corporate tyranny. Also, CIA report
Corporate
is,
tyranny, you could just quit. Government tyranny, you can quit a country and just gonna leave.
once again, we're trying to solve systemic issues. And also the corporate tyranny I was referring to was like not being able to, you still don't get to eat if you don't work in capitalism. And by the way, about the quitting thing, right? Once again, you can't solve a systemic issue by saying just quit, because if everyone quit, then all companies will run out of workers. Anyway, a 1957 CIA document titled Forced Labor Camps in the USSR, Transfer of Prisoners Between Camps, reveals the following information about the Soviet gulags in pages 2 to 6. Until 1952, the prisoners were given a guaranteed amount of food, plus extra food for over-fulfillment of quotas. From 1952 onward, the gulag system operated upon economic accountability, such that the more the prisoners worked, the more that they were paid. For over-fulfilling the norms by 105%, 1 day of sentence was counted as 2, thus reducing the time spent in gulag by 1 day. Furthermore, because of the socialist reconstruction post-war, the Soviet government had more funds, and so they increased the prisoners' food supplies. Until 1954, the prisoners worked 10 hours per day, whereas the free workers worked 8 hours per day. From 1954 onward, both prisoners and free workers worked 8 hours per day. Number 6. A CIA study of a sample camp showed that 95% of prisoners were the mainstream criminals. In 1953, amnesty was given to 70% of ordinary criminals of a sample camp studied by the CIA. Within the next 3 months, most of them were rearrested for committing new crimes. So, just the one and only point. Soviet gulags were more equitable than even modern-day American prisons.
Well, what else? Well, it tends to be that way if you force people to work, which I agree. The American prisoners do now.
They also
do now.
they force people
but
to
not
work
to the same
since
degree.
not to the same.
What?
No, it's worse. The forced prison.
Really,
The forced
in American prisons, are you making the argument that you work more hours than you do in your gulag?
Wait, can you repeat that?
Are you going to make the argument that in American prisons you'd work more hours than you would in the gulags?
They just said you work 8 hours a day in the gulag. That's your standard working day. Moreover,
Is it that way in prisons?
Say again?
Is it? Yeah, it's not that way in prisons though.
Well, in American prisons, I don't know how long you work in American prisons, but I can say with 100% I guarantee that in American prisons they don't get paid for their labor. They don't.
I mean, they do. They get paid shit, but they still get paid.
No, they don't. The 13th Amendment says
Yeah,
that
they do.
They do? How
What are
much?
you talking about?
Doesn't the
I'll acknowledge it's not great pay, but they're not doing it for free.
do prison forced labor get paid US? Because I'm fairly certain, was it the 13th Amendment? Okay, between 23 cents and $1.15, and Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but you're not forced. You're not necessarily forced to work.
They have also wait, they're not forced to work. Are you sure?
I should take that back. I was gonna say in modern prisons. Back then, maybe you're correct. I would know. I didn't do any research.
They also have
prisons,
consistently held that inmates have no constitutional right to compensation, and that inmates are paid by the grace of the state. They're basically saying we don't even have to pay you because the 13th Amendment.
Well, that's because you're considered a slave.
Yeah, because the 13th Amendment
At least
says
in prisons.
slavery is legal if it's a punishment, right? Whereas even in the USSR, not only is the slavery illegal and you get paid fairly well, plus you get guaranteed food, plus you get extra food, plus if you work if you work hard enough, your sentence gets reduced. There are so many incentives to be a good worker even when you're put in a gulag.
I don't know. Well, the incentive tends to be if you don't work hard enough, then someone behind you is probably going to pop you in the head. What I was going to say is that
pop you in the head.
Well, shoot you.
The CIA document doesn't say anything about that, and this is from the CIA, mind you. Let me send.
Okay, well, being an American, Americans don't like the CIA.
Yeah, but the CIA has no reason to lie in their internal documents. This is.
I don't know, dude. The CIA lies about.
No, but this is an internal document that they circulated amongst themselves 50 years ago, and it only got released recently because of declassification protocols.
Is it all declassified, or there's certain sections that are redacted?
Let me read through it. It looks like it's all declassified.
All of it. I don't know. I'll look at it. Maybe you're correct. I could be wrong. But at least how we Americans see the CIA, we tend to distrust it. I dislike the CIA. I
dislike the CIA too, but I don't think the CIA would lie to each other in their own internal documents.
I don't think that either. What I am saying is that there could be things that are redacted.
Yeah, I'm reading through.
They don't let the public see.
The last link I sent you is the actual CIA website with the PDF link there and everything. I'm reading the PDF right now, and so far it doesn't appear to have anything redacted. It's got the whole. No, not this. The last one. Check the last link I sent you. The CIA Gov.library.
Oh, okay.
And then click the PDF. Everything it has the approved for release seal and everything.
All right.
It's legit. Oh wait, the last page is redacted. But
okay. Well, and I'm not necessarily saying that.
Okay, the last page.
A big indicator of something, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
Of course,
No. The last page is redacted to protect the identity of individuals mentioned in it.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying that the CIA is redacting it out of malice, but what also I'm saying is that we do know this, that the USSR put political enemies into these war camps under charges that shouldn't really have warranted. Can you agree with that?
Can you describe some of these political enemies that were put in work camps?
I suppose people who I don't know them by name, but essentially people of high notoriety that oppose the
I,
USSR.
are you saying you're saying people that threaten the revolution, right?
Could you repeat that?
People
You
that
cut it out a little.
people that threaten the revolution, counter-revolutionaries, reactionaries, those kinds of people, right?
Well, I suppose they'd be included too. Yes.
Yeah, I know. I don't have problems with locking up those people.
So you're fine with locking up dissenters.
Not dissenters, counter-revolutionaries and reactionaries. People that have gone out of their way or have indicated that they plan to undermine the state or undermine the revolution. I don't have a problem with that. I live in a police state. I know how state repression. I live in a police state. I know how state repression works.
And so you're cool with that. You're cool with if you disagree with the government.
No, it's not disagree with the government. The Soviet Union did guarantee free speech. You are right to criticize the government. Where you cross the line is when you start inciting revolt against the government. When you start inciting revolt against the revolution. For example, let's take like my personal example, right? Let's say in a post-revolutionary Malaysia, someone starts espousing hateful rhetoric against LGBT people, and then they start inciting saying we need to go lynch trans people. I will lock that person up. I don't care about free speech laws. I will lock that person up.
What I'm saying is that I find it hard to believe that those were the only cases that happened.
I'm sure that I'm sure there were cases of overzealousness on the part of the Soviet Union, but I seriously doubt it was the norm and it was just the exception, which the United States is also guilty of. Never forget McCarthy.
Are you
Joe McCarthy.
Never forget what? I couldn't hear the last part. Say that again.
I'm saying that what you're describing, I'm sure, was the exception, not the norm. And to add to that, the United States is also guilty of these things you say the Soviet Union does. Never forget Joe McCarthy happened.
Okay, there you go. I couldn't hear that last part.
Never forget Joe McCarthy happened.
I won't disagree that. Well, what I'm trying to say is that I don't know if that's norm or not. And, I could be reading biased media. I'm perfectly fine with accepting that. I could be reading media that's framed in a way to make the USSR look way worse than it is. But based on what I'm seeing, it's essentially just dissenters dissenters of high notoriety that went to the gulags as well. Not necessarily people who wanted to, hurt people or incite violence.
Well, dissenters in what way? Were they promoting counter-revolution?
Well, no, I don't know specifically, but it's not promoting violence.
No, it doesn't not necessarily promote violence, but if they promote counter-revolution, if they promote destabilizing the status quo, I'm pretty sure both in the US and in the USSR, you can get locked up for that. In my country,
how can you get locked in the US for breaking the status quo? I don't understand.
McCarthy, fucking McCarthy.
Yeah, I'm saying. What I mean, is that the norm or not?
It's not the norm. I'm sure it's not the norm in the USSR either.
I don't know. Again, I'm perfectly fine with me reading biased media, but it's most definitely the norm in America.
I will try to find data for you for this, but I'm fairly certain it wasn't the norm to just lock up political dissenters. Like, if you talk about people criticizing the state, I'm fairly certain they didn't do that. They only started locking up people when they got extreme.
I don't know. I've seen things the contrary, but
if you can send these to me, I would appreciate that. I will look through them later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, but what I'm saying is that of course a lot of them are going to be biased because a lot of them are from Western media. But I don't see how you can have free speech in America. I don't see how America will arrest you, at least consistently, if you break the status quo, versus in the USSR. From what I heard.
No, they don't arrest you. They shoot you instead. Have you ever heard of Fred Hampton?
What I'm saying.
In the USSR, they throw you in a labor camp, and in the US, they just shoot you in your sleep.
Well, what I'm trying to say is, let's say I'm in America and I have a different ideology than the status quo.
Yeah, they shot.
Government will if I do it right now, the government will not harm me. I know as a fact. If I say I hate the government and I want to live in an anarchist society, the government won't hurt me. Whereas if in the USSR, said, I don't like the USSR, I don't like socialism, of course there's a chance that I'll be left alone.
No, I
If
don't.
I'm
I
high
don't.
enough in notoriety.
I don't think the government would lock you up if you didn't believe in socialism, as long as you didn't break any laws. You do your part. You do your part as society. You can grumble amongst yourself. It's not 1984.
Great book. I actually did like that book.
I didn't like. I liked 1984 before I was a socialist.
Why? What were you before?
Sock them with hinge of nationalism.
That's like not every idea. That's a lot of ideology.
No, just a social democrat with a little bit of a nationalist rhetoric because third world country and everything.
Oh, like a Nazball.
No, not Nazball, because I didn't advocate for worker control of the means production, but I did advocate for better, just like welfare, equity for the most vulnerable and all that.
Oh shit! Sorry. Fair enough. What were we talking about before this? I'm sorry, I got sidetracked.
No,
I don't know.
I mean, it's close to 2 hours already. If you're feeling burnt out, I think we can stop. I need to watch my storage space and everything.
Alright, well, let's end this because
Alright.
the longer this goes on, the more and more I talk like a retard, so I can't. Sorry.
Is there anything you would like to promote?
Promote? Not really, no. I guess check out my Twitter if you like racist, offensive jokes.
Okay, I will put up. I'll put up the recording tomorrow or the day after, and I'll put your Twitter in the description. All right.
All right.
I'm not sure if any of my followers would like your content, but I'll plug you anyway.
Yeah, I doubt it. I don't know. I have a few commie friends. They're pretty cool, but we just tend to avoid politics.
Tell them to check me out instead. When I release this video, like the recorded version of this, I'll send it to you.
All right. And also, what I was gonna say is, it's kind of weird that this conversation was about what was I gonna not socialism, communism. So if you ever want to debate that, feel free. I guess I'll do more research then. But if you want to debate that, feel free to hit me up again.
It's fine. No, I can see myself doing a second debate with you. But yeah, this is how it normally goes. It's informal. We just see where the conversation goes. You don't stick to the original topic.
Alright.
It's supposed to be a free flowing back and forth.
Alright. Well, it was fun, so I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me, I guess.
Alright, see ya.
See ya.
So, what do y'all think of that? Do y'all want to do a PragerU shitfest? I'm a little bit worn out. We're approaching 2 hours in the stream, so I think I should probably end this. Thanks for coming, y'all. And this is just a test run. This is me trying to get stuff together and everything. Thanks for the 2 viewers. Alright, see y'all. I'll upload the recording